Hello and welcome to the PhD Life Raft podcast. I'm Emma Brzezinski and today I am talking to the marvellous Annie French, and we're talking about yoga and the PhD. Annie's just finished training as a yoga teacher and she shares with us some of that learning that she's been doing. And we talk about showing up for yourself. We talk about observing your own patterns. And we also talk about what's going on in your body when you are writing. So I do hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, Annie.
Hi, Emma.
Oh, this is a real treat for me, everybody. We have to confess to start with that we know each other. And we met, I can't even remember how we met now, but I think we've come into each other's orbits and I love it.
Universe.
Exactly. We've just been talking all about the magic of the universe, which is a whole other podcast. But yes, we were brought together and I am very, very grateful for that because you are a beautiful, beautiful person. And you're part of PhD Circle as well. So we meet, which is the thing, we meet up every month. And that is a real blessing, I think, to all of us that are in it. And other people are welcome to join too. So if you were interested in that, then please do let me know. But let's stop rambling, Emma, and get into this. But your story is a really interesting one, and I think you are inspiring in many, many ways. And I think particularly your journey towards the PhD is truly inspirational. So I'm so pleased that you said yes, that you would come to talk.
Thank you.
Today.
Oh, thanks, Emma. I've been so excited about coming and chatting to you. Yeah, thank you.
I know. We just realised that actually we need 2 hours. So
we do. And a cup of tea.
Exactly. It's so we're going to have to be very, very disciplined here.
Okay.
So the first thing we always do here is to talk about your journey through the PhD. Now, you're pre-PhD, you're preparing for the PhD, but yes. I think your story is truly inspirational because you are actually doing some real foundational work towards your PhD project, but also towards your PhD life. Yes. And I just think this is amazing. And there's so much that other people can learn from this. So tell us a bit about your journey so far.
So my journey probably started academically. Well, we could go right back, but we haven't got the time. So I'll start, I think it was about 12 years ago. So I always worried that I'd left school not knowing what I wanted to do. And I still haven't decided what I'm going to do yet when I grow up.
Yes.
So I run my own business. So I first went into management in the late, well, I won't say the age, I won't say the year, but I went into management in the NHS, primarily working in primary care, and knew that I was a good manager. But because I didn't have that degree, I always felt something was missing. So a bit later on in life, I thought, right, I need a qualification to prove that I'm a good manager. So I went straight into postgraduate studies in my early 30s and did a diploma in management studies. And I thought, right, I've done this, I'll go on, do my MBA, and then fell pregnant and life changed. So there was another gap. And then this round of academia started after a period of breast cancer. So I'd run my business for 17 years. And then in 1 year, this is going back to 2006, I found a tumour, and I was very lucky the first time. The second time, I wasn't so lucky and needed the full works. So it was chemotherapy, radiotherapy. And although I can look back now and think, wow, that was a real survival. It was one of the best things that could have happened. I survived, and I never, ever, ever take that for granted. But one tiny little thing happened during my treatment. The hospital that I went to, I was an inpatient for 5 weeks, and they had an art room. And I would nip down there every day and suddenly realised, oh God, I haven't picked up a paintbrush since I left school. And all those memories came flooding back of my time in the art room, and why didn't I carry on studying art? And we were talking about earlier about teachers coming into your life at the right time, or mentors. And when I came home, because it was like a 2-year period of treatment, I thought, I'm going to find an art class. And then I found the lovely Jackie Currell, who was a real mentor for me, but she's no longer with us. But she really encouraged me and said, Annie, get a sketchbook. Annie, get yourself off and do a foundation. And I took 2 years to do my art and design foundation. And then I thought, I don't want this to end. And I saw a tiny little poster on a notice board saying, BA in creative practice in Manchester, 6 years. And I thought, well, what else am I going to do? I've got this business to run. I went back, I was recovering. I went back into the business and took 1 day out just for me, travelled across to Manchester and did this fantastic creative practice BA. I specialise in textiles, and I just absolutely fell in love with textile art. But I loved the research. I really got lost in archives, and my exhibition was called Dancing in the Archive. And how could I make that archive come alive with, how can we get people interested in history? So it took me down so many different avenues. And again, I didn't want that to end. We talked earlier about my little journey to another university to sign up for my MA, and that was a totally different experience. I sort of didn't have my mates with me. I am a very mature student, and I believe I'm not aware of it at the time. I was the first UK student to study for that MA. And I was with Chinese students, and they were lovely. I learned so much about the culture, but it was such a stressful environment that it sort of put me off a bit, really, taking it any further to do a PhD. But it's there. It's always been there, thinking, what's my question? Where's the research? I'm just itching to get back.
Yes. And so now you're in that process and what I love your thirst for knowledge and your love of knowledge, and that's what makes the best PhD researchers, isn't it? And PhD is, it's philosophy. They're Doctor of Philosophy, love of knowledge, literally.
My trouble is it's the choice, and I know I'm going to have to be pinned down and get that question, and I think I've got it. But I think, what if I miss out on something else? I think I'm there because over those years I got to the final 2 years of my degree and sold my business, which meant that I was free. I was financially independent, and I'd worked extremely hard for that. But I do feel that I suffer from survival guilt in that I cannot waste what I've been given. I really, really, really appreciate every morning that I get up, and I realise that, some friends haven't made it, but I'm here and I'm here for a purpose. And so I'm very, very careful with my well-being. And that's probably, why we're here to talk about the yoga.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for doing the segue in for me. So let's talk about yoga, because the thing
Yay.
is, not only are you doing all these other things, because you're not wasting time, and as I say, you're really mindfully preparing yourself for the PhD journey and what you need to put in place. But you've just finished a yoga teacher training.
Yes.
So that sense of all that you have learnt there. And as I say, you've shared so much with us in Circle about what you're learning and how we can apply that to the PhD journey. So I was like, please come and talk to us about it. So
yes.
What do we need to know? What can yoga teach us? How can yoga support us on the PhD journey?
Right. Okay. So the first thing is of what I'm coming across is because I've been practicing yoga for over 30 years on and off, and I've had some really good teachers and some really bad ones. And most people now, when I say, come along to my class, they say, oh, but I'm not flexible, I'm not bendy, and you must be really flexible. And the answer is no, I'm not. So for me, it got me through those years of study, and I've had a fantastic teacher. When I think about the stresses and the traumas in my life, is that I just loved showing up on a Monday morning for my class. It set me up for the week, and I would walk out there skipping some mornings, and I thought, how is this happening in my body? How can I drag myself out of bed, having that discipline to turn up? And sometimes that's all you need, is just to turn up. And it's not about getting into different poses and different shapes. Of course, you're making shapes with the body, and there's so many avenues of yoga that you can choose, from the spiritual side to the there's so many to choose from. But for me, it was always about health and calming me down and having those skills to, get me through the week and noticing. So I suppose I've got quite used to reading my body, and I'm always amazed. I think what this recent course has taught me is to observe people and movement. And I suppose, again, because I was interested in dance and movement and, how people react to each other, the space in between. And I think we talked about that in Circle, about gaps and the space we create. There's so much you can learn on a yoga mat that isn't just about physical movement. It's about what you take away with you off that mat.
It's what you said, isn't it, about showing up for yourself.
Yeah.
And bringing your body. I love yoga with Adrienne, and she says the showing up is the hardest. Yeah. And that sense of, actually the discipline, the practice, and the attention to your body. Yeah.
Because you can transfer those skills across. It is a skill, it's a practice, it is a discipline. And not only in the movement. So, everybody thinks it's just about bendy, making shapes, putting yourself in knots. It isn't. It's so much more than that. So it is making that connection between your mind, body, and spirit. And it's not about whatever spirit means to you.
And we were just talking before about how in academia that connection between the mind and the body is really not attended to nearly enough, and that we are we treat ourselves and are treated like we are just brains on sticks, and we are clearly not. And that kind of that sense of connection and what our bodies can teach us and what our bodies can tell us.
Well, I think I found this out when I did my MA. So I was lucky enough to be able to turn up to my classes 2 or 3 times a week when I was doing the long BA. and then because I switched cities and I was living in Birmingham for 5 days a week away from home, I'd lost my routine, I'd lost my practice. And at that stage, I wasn't disciplined enough to do self-practice. But I suddenly noticed that all those bad habits were coming back in, sitting in the library for hours at a time, and not the meditation. I lost the meditation, and soon I could feel everything, that anxiety coming back, and you just think, well, what's going on? What's the difference? So for me now, because I'm aware of that, I'm determined and to show up in a different way for the PhD. Is that personal practice for me? That's not for everybody, but I've been doing this for years. But I know how important it is, and certainly on the meditation side, there's so much. Yeah, there's so much science in it now. And I did say to you, we live in our heads as academics. We live in our heads constantly, those monkey brain, how do you switch it off? And you cannot switch it off. But there's great science out there about, the benefits of mindful meditation, and that how you can tune into that, which makes you more alert and, in that flow. I think we talked about that in Circle. When do you know you're in the flow? When things just come out of your mind. And so, for me, meditation is a big part of it.
And that sense of being able to focus and think clearly, because and the issue of fear as well, I guess, isn't there? Because when you're in your head and you're with all the thoughts, that's where you can get into the fear casting.
Yeah, because it's not true, is it?
Yeah.
It's just your little monkey brain telling you can't do this, you can't do that, and we touched on it before about the universe and putting stuff out there, and it does sound a bit wacky sometimes. But
I love the wacky.
Yeah, I just think, do you know what? Things turn up for a reason, the right book or the right passage, or think the reference or whatever it is, it's there. But I can remember, oh God, one morning. So I go out for a walk first thing in the morning with my dog, and I usually put on a podcast. And I think I emailed you that I said, Emma, you've just been on a walk with me. You've just been on my mindful walking meditation, and the sun was coming up. But I was listening to one of your podcasts, and it was David Vincent, and he just said something about creating space and movement. When you're stuck, and I think we all know what that's like when you're just stuck in a paragraph or stuck, looking for that connection between, well, what does all this research mean? I can't make a connection. And I just thought, he's talking about yoga, because we get stuck in our bodies. We get, and we're not even aware of it. So the training that I've done was with the Intelligent Yoga School of Training, and their whole school is about Scaravelli. So Scaravelli isn't a style of yoga. It was founder Scaravelli went on to teach in the 90s, and she's my inspiration, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a yoga teacher in my 90s. Yeah. But it's all about spine and the spine health. And if we're just sitting, in our writing club, I mentioned that the guys in the writing club sort of booking 4-hour sessions, and I can't sit still for 4 hours. I need to move. But that's so important that you just. So my classes for April are on the theme of letting go. So just noticing, where you're holding tension. And usually for most of us, this is in the shoulders and the neck. And you observe people with a rounded spine. And it's how do you breathe? How do you breathe properly? Because you're sort of collapsing your lungs. And then other people hold their tension at the other end of their spine in their pelvis. And
I'm just rolling my shoulders now as we speak.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Okay, let's breathe. Glide those shoulders down.
I loved what you were saying as well, about you said before we started recording about noticing. What yoga has helped you to do is to notice patterns in yourself and patterns of behaviour. And I think that sense of that is so big on the PhD journey, in terms of all your stuff comes right up in your face.
Yeah, it does.
and you have to face it. And I think, tell us about how yoga can help us do that, because it's really tough. That's really tough.
I think if you sort of, what yoga is, so yoga, the definition could be the union of that mind and body. And when we're racing around all day trying to squeeze in everything possible into 24 hours, you just forget about the body part. And so the body has like a mindful memory of when it can hold trauma. Your body will hold trauma. But when you can calm it down, so if you're working sort of trying to switch off your vagus nerve, the parasympathetic nerve, and calm down, you sort of start observing where you hold tension. Where I hold tension might be completely different from you. So I notice, especially when I'm driving, that it's my hip flexors and I curl my toes. But I think what yoga has enabled me to do is that quick body scan of where's the tension, where am I holding on, where do I need to let go, can I breathe? And if you think about bringing those shoulders forward and bringing tension into the front of your chest, then that's affecting your breathing. And then if your breathing isn't right, then your circulation isn't right. So all those neurons that are going up and down your spine and feeding your spine with your brain with lots of messages aren't working. So all these lovely PhDs out there struggling to get those neurons fired up, they need to move their body. It's like the M1. The spine's like the one, the neurons go up and down and back again, but you've got to keep that traffic flowing.
Wow, that's deep. And definitely make it now. I'm feeling I've just got to get out of my chair now. It's really important. So this is really well, as I say, makes me want to get moving, and I think this the whole thing of the importance of the body and the information that the body gives us is so important. And I love that you're reminding us of that. And people might want to go, well, look, what can I do about this? And we've got an answer to that, because
we have.
Annie has agreed. We've launched the PhD Lifestyle Summit, the first one ever, which I'm so excited about, and I can't tell you. And Annie's going to be part of it and doing a yoga session, so a practical session, but chair-based, isn't it? So it's kind of nothing to be intimidated about, but just to encourage you to do that. Well, you tell us what it's going to do.
Yeah, no, well. We were so excited about it.
I truly am excited about it.
So I was thinking and observing people in libraries that sometimes people sit there for hours at a time, not moving. So I thought we could incorporate some chair movement. Is that just a little reminder to keep that spine moving, maybe set your alarm clock to remind you to relax those shoulders, some neck exercises and some meditation. So it's not intimidating at all. It's just little takeaways. So in all my classes, and I do tend to have a lot of people in the NHS that come along that are so stressed out at the moment. And it's just rocking up that hour for them once a week, which is lovely to be able to teach them and give them that gift.
It's pressing the pause button, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also that just connecting back to yourself. I think, what a gift. So come and join us. It's free.
Yes.
And you can sign up, and you can meet the gorgeous Annie. So that's
Thank
worth
you.
doing. That's worth doing to start with. Now then, I'm going to ask the ridiculous question that I've asked of everybody in terms of a top tip. Is there a top tip that you would give to us to?
Whoever said it on your podcast is like desert island disc. I'd never be able to do that. But I have a top tip, Emma.
Love it.
So,
love it.
It is a takeaway, and it's called stop. So it's just the word stop. So the S is to stop. The T is to take 3 mindful breaths. The O is to observe your body. And the P is to proceed. So just remember the word stop. And I've been doing this little habit now for a while. Just when I do get busy, sort of creating that new website and writing classes and looking for PhD supervisors, it's just that. So it's just a word.
Was P proceed?
P is proceed. So you carry on. So during your busy day, S, you stop. T, just take 3 mindful breaths. And feel your body literally calm down, and just then observe after that breathing what's going on inside your body, and just sit with it, and then just proceed and just carry on. And I keep a post-it note in the front of my car which says stop. So when I get in the car, instead of turning the ignition on, dashing off to the next meeting or go shopping or whatever, I just sit. And it literally, it could be just 1 minute. So when people think about meditation or of this yogi sitting cross-legged on a mat for 2 hours at a time, and you think, we haven't got time for that. It's the build-up of, you do that in the car. You can set a reminder on your phone, random alarms that just say stop. And just stop yourself. Just write in, whatever you're doing, just stop there and just take those 3 breaths and observe, and then carry on. And it's just that little bit of magic throughout your day that just makes life a bit more smoother. Top tip.
I feel calmer. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, Emma, I've loved it. Thank you.
Thank you for all that you give. And thank you all for listening.